Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to Spurs Related. I hope you're all doing very well, other than if you're an England fan and you just watched 90 minutes of absolute rubbish. But maybe we'll get into that in a little bit. But listen, let's welcome in the co-hosts as always, Andre and Jack. We'll start with Andre. Andre, how you doing, mate?
Great. Honestly, as a Canadian, probably not feeling it as badly as you guys for that England game, but I'm always very happy to be here to talk about Spurs. This is coming out to be a very, very busy window.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And Jack, how you doing in that England shirt? I'm surprised you haven't taken it off, mate.
I'm good. I'm good. To be honest, I put it on at half time, hoping it'd bring us a bit of luck, but not to be. Hopefully, Spurs, this chat will be better than that performance, and I'm sure it will be.
Absolutely, Jack. Absolutely love it. And of course, guys, there may be a few more of you than normal watching, which is absolutely brilliant. Do say hello in the chat. We love to get to know, as we call you guys, if that's all right, the Spurs Relatables. As cringy as it is our little thing. But obviously, we ran a competition on our Instagram to get people over to here. And obviously, there's a good chance you guys could win £20 from the Spurs store just in time for maybe the new kit to drop next month, which is absolutely class. So if you guys are over from Instagram, do let us know. We'd love to say hello. And it's a great vibe around here. Everyone gets on with each other in the chat. It's just a good atmosphere. We're trying to build a good community here. And we're on our way to hitting 1,000 subscribers, hopefully very soon. And that is the goal. But listen, let's get into things. Let's welcome some people in the chat. Like I said, if you are new, let us know you're new because we'd love to get to know you guys. Mark's in here. He says, hit that like and sub, share. Thank you. Big up, Mark. Thanks, mate. I hope you're doing well. Tempest is back in here saying, big up, guys. Tempest, really good to see you, mate. I hope you, well, I mean, what can I say? That England game was shocking. I was about to say, I hope you enjoyed it, but no one's enjoyed that, unless you don't like England, of course. Louis in here says, yes, boys. Louis, always good to see you, friend. And yeah, let's crack on with what we're going to be talking about today. Andre, maybe you want to give a little breakdown of what we will be mentioning today on this stream and what we'll be talking about.
Sure. I mean, obviously, if you want, we can touch a little bit on that England game, not too much, based on how I'm hearing it here. I don't think you guys had the best of time watching that. And then from there, we'll move on to Saint-Maximin rumors that we're hearing. Lots of potentials there. I don't, talk about how we feel about that. Bergwijn, that's also ramping up as well. And, what a coincidence as the Bergwijn stuff is coming in. The Saint-Maximin stuff is starting to also develop. Then we'll talk about Conte's striker wish list, which has officially been released by Alistair Gold. And he has mentioned a few names, a few that I've liked, a few that I haven't really liked. Then we'll just wrap it up right after that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, wish list. It's going to be interesting to hear. Strikers, of course, the last few videos have been focusing on Bastoni, Gvardiol, all these defensive links, even wing-back links and the likes of Kostic. But it'll be good today to maybe hear about our more attacking options that we could be linked with. And it'll be good to hear who you guys want to see in a Spurs shirt by the end of the window. So do crack your opinions and comments in the chat. It always creates great discussion points. And we would love to hear from you guys. But one more thing before we get into the kind of agenda. Andre's just reminded me, we're doing timestamps on our videos now. So if you're watching this not live and you want to skip to a certain bit, what I'll do in the comments is I'll put, say, for example, we're talking about Bergwijn. I'll put the exact minutes we talk about that. Or, for example, Bastoni news, you're catching up on that. Whatever it may be, whatever the topic, it will be in the comments and you can just simply click on the description, click on the number, and you can go straight to that bit rather than maybe watching the whole hour if you guys obviously busy people and don't want to watch the exact whole stream. Guys, I'm going to read out a few more comments and then we'll get into things. Jake Matthews is here saying, yes, Jack. Yes, Jake Matthews, absolute legend. Welsh girl, big up, lads. Always a pleasure to see you. Ngola saying, Jackie boy. God, you got a few friends in here, Jack.
Top lads. I know where the channel is.
Alex is saying, steak, absolute legends. Born to lose, even chaps, and all in the chat. I'm just about getting out of the coma following that England game. Honestly, that was absolutely horrendous stuff, Born to lose. But let's start with the rundown, what we're going to be talking about. Maybe hand it straight over to Jack to start with, because I know he has prepared a few notes on this. And obviously, Andre's prepared the slides, as always. It's always a team effort here at Spurs Related. But let's crack on. Guys. Jack.
Right. So am I starting with England, Spurs?
Yeah.
What should we
Let's
start with?
Let's start with
get the
England. Let's
England
get
one
it out of the way.
I'll start with that negativity. I don't like doing it, but as we all know, 1-0 to Hungary. Like, it wasn't great, was it? It really wasn't. It's not like what we've been used to last couple of weeks. Seeing Spurs clinch top four, we've gone back to international football. Even when England are winning, I struggle to watch it just because I feel like this is not my club. I love watching the World Cup. I love watching the Euros, but that was just it. Sometimes international football, it's a bit slower. It doesn't have the same intensity for me. It's more of a tactical breakdown. But I feel England just weren't at it today. Some questions over the formation, maybe players. I know he's an Arsenal boy, but I would have liked to see Saka maybe take on a man, a bit of creativity as well. I think we were lacking that. Harry Kane, he was a bit quiet today. Like, normally we don't say that. He nearly scored a screamer, though, in the 88th minute. I really thought that was in, hit the side netting. But yeah, we just didn't do enough today. I think there's a lot of questions maybe around Gareth Southgate recently. Is he the right man to take us forward? What do you lads think of that? Because for me, I think he's given us some great moments, but does he deserve the opportunity to take us to the World Cup in December? For me, I'm kind of on the fence. I would give him the opportunity currently, but I think it's up for debate.
Okay. Just a quick one with Southgate. I think we kind of, just because of one game, we can't forget what he has done for England. We've probably been in the best position we have, considering it's probably not even been our best generation since I've been alive. Like, the best generation since I've been alive. So, Beckham, Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Ferdinand, Terry, all the likes of even Ledley King. We had a golden generation, Rooney, Owen. But now, okay, we've still got an incredible team, but I feel like the team's much more tight-knit, and I feel like a lot of that's to do with Gareth Southgate. I just think, don't jump the gun over one performance. I think if we get it sorted in the next few games, we've got Italy and Germany, it will all be forgotten about. But I think, at the end of the day, Gareth Southgate's done a fantastic job and should remain in charge for now. What do you think, Andre?
Well, I'm mainly over here. We're just excited about Canada and how they're doing. But in terms of England, from what I've seen, they're a little boring to watch. I can't lie. I don't know if that's just up to Southgate's style of play. But, you guys have a really great team. And I think that there should be no problem come the World Cup for you guys to perform well. And if you don't, that is definitely something to think about in terms of Southgate. Because, again, you have some really great players on that team. There should be no excuses.
Yeah, absolutely. Born to Lose saying England are playing with a handbrake on under Southgate. Imagine having that side at your disposal and setting up like he does dismal football. Yeah, it was the wrong team selection today. He chose two debutants that don't know how to play with each other. James Justin at left wing back, and Jared Bowen, who actually probably had one of the better games of all the players. But still, I don't think it was the right time to implement them, and I don't think it was the right time to play, players that aren't used to playing with each other. We panicked at the end, put on the likes of Grealish. It just didn't work. And Hungary were very good defensively. I just think it just doesn't work when you play too many faces in one team that aren't used to playing with each other. They haven't played with each other all season. Dyer should have been selected, says Jake. Yeah. So Maximum is a lot like Traore, no end product. We have a chance to sign better this season. We should look elsewhere. So already Bodrel stating that he doesn't want Saint-Maximin. Well, that is an interesting one, and we will get obviously into the Saint-Maximin news in just a minute. But Jack, maybe you want to move on in the agenda, or Andre, I'll let you guys fight out.
Sweet.
I feel like that's moved us swiftly on maybe to our next topic that I've got down as being about Saint-Maximin. What do you think, Andre? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Let's get that one going.
Right. Wow, what a slide. Here he is, the man. For me, Saint-Maximin, extremely exciting player to watch. Always got you on the edge of your seat. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. But is he the man that's going to take Spurs and push us on? Potentially for squad depth, but as an out-and-out starter each week, I'm not so sure. I feel like he's a player that can produce brilliance. Like I say, always gets everyone excited. But I think he's only got 5 goals and 5 assists this season. And we want kind of a winger that can produce 10 goals, 5 assists. Like, we're talking serious numbers to complement Harry Kane and Son. Maybe he can add that. Maybe with world-class players around him, he can produce that. But I do feel sometimes he does flatter deceive, and I feel like there might be better options out there. But then again, if we did bring him in, I wouldn't complain. I'd be happy as long as it's for the right price and we can still invest in other areas. I definitely think he's a great player to have around the squad. I think he's an upgrade on Lucas and Bergwijn. But do I think he's going to take us to that next level? I'm not so sure. But definitely for excitement and that thrill factor, maybe we should bring him in.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I personally think that, I'm pretty excited hearing about this, that he could come to us. But, he does have injury problems sometimes. This season, he only had one, though, and he only missed 2 matches. But the previous season, he missed 13 matches. There's 38 in the season. He missed 13 of them to injury. That's quite worrying. We don't need more players that get injured, just like the way that we sort of had those issues this season. And he is a hit or miss. Sometimes he comes in, does nothing. Sometimes he comes in and he completely destroys the team. I don't know if Conte will maybe be very happy to see an inconsistency, because if you want to talk about inconsistencies, think about the player that is on his way out, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Bergwijn obviously being that player that could be on his way out, or probably is going to be on his way out. And I think if you compare it to Bergwijn, just quickly, guys, Bergwijn, I actually did a bit of a stats analysis on my Twitter earlier, and I said to the people I was talking to, like, Steven Bergwijn has, I think this is right, I could get it out. I think it's 12 goal contributions, 7 goals and 5 assists in 3 seasons. I know a lot of them are off the bench, but for me, that is not good enough. That is not good enough to be at Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to get people in the comments saying, okay, Lucas Moura has the same, and I would agree to an extent. But let's not forget the moments Lucas Moura has given us compared to Bergwijn. Bergwijn comes off the bench and doesn't always look like he's the player he is for Holland. And that's what annoys me so much. I feel like he has a lot of talent, but he only shows it normally for Holland. We've seen sparks at Tottenham, of course, but I just believe that Bergwijn is wasting his talent at Spurs right now. And
James, the only argument I'd have you, sorry to butt in, is would you say Lucas Moura has had more of an opportunity at Spurs and maybe he's more in favour? I think they're both great players. For me, I like them both. And I think maybe it's time for both of them to move on. But I feel like maybe Lucas has had just a bit more kind of given a bit more minutes than Bergwijn. But what do you think?
Okay, so I've just pulled up the stats that I did on Twitter earlier. So it was Kulusevski's played 1,267 Premier League minutes for Tottenham. He's had 13 goal contributions already, which is a goal or an assist every 97 minutes, right? That's incredible. Nearly a goal contribution every single game. Bergwijn, 2,456 Premier League minutes, which is nearly double what Kulusevski's played. I know you could argue, well, Bergwijn's been here 2.5 seasons and Kulusevski's clearly got more chance in even the 6 months he's been here. However, Bergwijn's got 2,456 Premier League minutes, 12 goal contributions. So already Kulusevski has outperformed Bergwijn in 2.5 seasons in 6 months. And that's 1 goal contribution every 205 minutes. Now, that is a big difference in quality. Kulusevski is a player that will take us to the next level, that has already taken us to the next level in top 4, and it has been the difference. Him and Bentancur, Conte coming in, coaching these guys through, and it's been absolutely formidable having him, right, at our disposal. If we had Bergwijn or Lucas at right wing, I strongly believe we wouldn't have got top 4. Now, people might say in the comments, well, don't forget that Bergwijn got us those 3 points against Leicester. Completely understand. However, let's just look at this as a whole. I don't think Bergwijn has been up to the quality we need as a top 4 side. And that's me being deadly honest. I like Bergwijn. I think he's a great player. I just think he's got almost a handbrake on at Tottenham. His attitude isn't quite there. He doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the players. You can tell, like you said, Jack, previously, he doesn't really fit into the Tottenham dressing room. You said he was like sitting on the coach on his own and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't feel like he has that, almost like he was good mates with Aurier. He's lost that. I just feel like Bergwijn, it's a massive shame it hasn't fully worked out for him, but I think we cash him while we can get some money for him.
Thank you. Finally, some vindication here. This is what I've been saying. Lucas Moura and Bergwijn both need to move on, but the priority should be to move on the younger player who teams still think they can get the best out of him. Now, look, I will always pay respects to the fact that this guy has been behind the ball in 2 clutch moments, the Man City game and the Leicester game. The Man City game from when he first arrived, that first one, I'll never forget that goal. It was amazing. And then that Leicester game, which to me, honestly might be one of the best games of this season. In no way, shape, or form were we supposed to get 3 points in that game based on how things were going entering the 90th minute, and we did. So, honestly, good, but we need consistency. I don't, for 2.5 years to only have 2 moments where we can really think, oh yeah, like Bergwijn had a great game, but that's about it. That's not good enough. And I know Conte for a fact is not wanting to pay a player the amount of money he's being paid for one clutch moment in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, what are your thoughts, mate? I know you just said you're kind of defending this a little bit, but I feel like you're.
I totally agree. I think it's time to move Bergwijn on. I do think it's a massive shame because I've spoke a lot about. I think he's got a lot of quality, and I think he can bring more to the table. But like you say, it's important to keep the squad fresh, be a bit more ruthless, and maybe cutting out Bergwijn and being able to get a good figure for him is the right idea at the minute. My only worry is that I feel like he's a player, because he has so much potential. If he absolutely smashes it at Ajax, we could see him get sold to another club for a lot more money. And I feel like the rumoured fee by Gary Jacobs today is £17 million they've bidded. And I feel like he's a player that's probably worth more than that. I felt like if he was English, he'd be probably 40, 50 million. So I feel like Ajax would have a good buy there. But maybe, like you say, we've got to stop not being ruthless, get him out the door and bring someone else in. And maybe Saint-Maximin is the player we should do that with. But then I know there's a lot of players that probably have better goal contributions than him. He'd be one for me that would be on my list, but he wouldn't be the priority. Okay,
that's a good summary. Let's talk a little bit more about Saint-Maximin. I'm going to bring up a few comments. Louis saying Maximin causes problems one-on-one, but not sure he's the quality. If his quality is brilliant, good squad player though. Is it worth 35 million for a squad player? Probably, to be honest with you. SOF, mate, always good to see you. Thanks for all your comments, offline comments as well, mate. It does really help the channel. He says, if ASM is available for 35 mil, I'd take him. Good cover for the front three, possibly at right wing back.
Wow.
Conte covered Perisic and Moses. It could be an option. Converted, he meant. Born to Lose is saying, is he a Conte player, though, or just a luxury box of tricks? Could be a good point here, to be fair. There's a reason he's looking at players like Traore and ALLAN, Saint-Maximin. There's a plan to use their 1v1 ability. Thanks, Jay. SOF saying, sack Southgate and hire Potter. He'd use the talent a lot better. Wow.
It's an interesting point.
And Welsh Girl says dump Southgate as well. Apparently, there's a 35 million release clause. We'll get into all of that, all the little ins and outs on Saint-Maximin in just a minute. Enrique, good to see you, mate. I think a new face. Brilliant to see you. He says a rate Bergwijn, but I just hope we can buy someone better who can come off the bench and beat a low block. Yeah, that's what we've been lacking for quite a while, to be fair. I would agree with that. Shawnee Boy's in here. Says, hi, boys. I've been saying this on Twitter, but a sell-on clause in the contract on Bergwijn, as he could easily be worth 80 million in 3 years. Wow. Selling for 20 million with a 15% sell-on clause. Do you guys think that Bergwijn could go to an 80 million pound player? What do you think, Jack? Andre?
I think if Andre don't mind me saying first, I think that Bergwijn, like I've said, he's got a lot of talent. He could be a player that's worth a lot of money. 80 million is very steep. And I think for his age, I think he'd be about 28 then, 27. Would I be right in saying that? I'm sure James or Andre, the stat man, can tell me. Could be a bit steep. But like I say, he's got a lot of potential. 40, 50 million, 60 million pound player, 100%. I can really see him competing well in the Champions League, maybe even getting top goal scorer in the Eredivisie. So, like Sean says, I really do think we should probably add a add-on clause, a sell-on clause. But the only thing is, would Ajax allow that, being a club that likes to make profit, likes to develop players? I'm not sure if they'd be happy with that, but it's a possibility.
Okay. Andre?
Yeah, I could also see. I feel like based on Bergwijn's age and everything, I think this is a player they would want to sign for long term. It kind of looks like, it's been proven now that Bergwijn can't really make it at the top flight. He's had many chances, honestly. I know some of you have been saying that he hasn't, but I think he's been given a good amount of chances in big games where he just hasn't finished his dinner, honestly. The Liverpool game comes to mind where he was 1v1 twice and he missed both. and then we lost the game.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's those kinds of things that make me really think, and I'm sure Conte thinks the same, that he's just not good enough to be in our team, because even if you are a bench player, you need bench players that can come in and make a difference. But at the same time, if you're going to be a squad player, you have to also think realistically that the best players don't want to come in to be stuck on the bench and come in for 15 minutes either. So it's one of those things where Saint-Maximin could do a job, you know, and maybe he can find some sort of new era in himself under Conte. Look at how Davies developed under Conte. Look at how Doherty developed under Conte. Maybe Conte's the right man for Maximin to really shine even more, take all of that, all those tricks that he does, put a bit of flair, put a bit of finishing product in him, and get more out of him.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Maybe making more of a complete player, I guess, what you're saying there. Welsh Gal saying, is Stevie B like a Lo Celso? Does it for his country, but is the odd man out in the dressing room. This is what it feels like.
It's a good analysis.
Maxime Gerard saying, personally, I want Martin Terrier. He scored 21 goals with Rennes. He can play on the left or as a striker. Very good player.
Has he not linked with Newcastle? I feel like Newcastle are heavily linked with him, but I could be wrong. There's another French striker who scored a lot of goals, young, talented, that's just moving to Newcastle. And this leads me on to the point that as much as I wouldn't mind Saint-Maximin coming in, I really don't actually see it being a possibility. Newcastle with new owners, an exciting squad that really could push on next season. I don't see it happening. Obviously, money's not an issue for them unless Saint-Maximin is really pushing to leave, and I don't think he would be with the money being invested into the club this summer. A lot of players potentially coming in. I don't see it happening. But obviously, if he wants to play Champions League football next season, then he's a player that I would like to see at Spurs. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly that. That's worth saying. There's a reason why Bergwijn is going back to Holland, and no clubs from the big five are after him. Is a good point. And he'd be mad to leave Newcastle considering how they're going. Literally what you were just saying, massively improving in the coming seasons thanks to the Saudi money. Newcastle won't be in the Champions League for at least 2 or 3 seasons. Saint-Maximin might want to experience it now. It's a good point as well. A couple more comments and then we'll get into our next talking point. Sean's saying it is now, but in 3 years with inflation, 80 million won't buy you a full tank of petrol. That's very true, mate. That is very true. And Man United apparently in for Terrier, and he could be a legend at Newcastle as they grow and progress for a bit part for us. I know what I'd choose in his position, and huge Akikate is going to Newcastle. Playoffs, the right or the striker. There you go. So that's probably what you're thinking, Jack. But let's move on. Andre, let's see what we are going to be talking about now. And I guess it's more about the wish list and Conte's ambition and what he wants to sign, according to Alistair Gold.
Right. So looks like Alistair Gold has revealed sort of like a wish list that Conte has. Now, there's 2 players there's one player I'm going to quickly mention, or no, 2 players I'm going to quickly mention that were on his wish list, but it's the most unlikely, Schick being one of them. Obviously, he just signed a new contract with Leverkusen, so that's a no-go. And then Martinez, who obviously he rates highly from Inter, but no way he's coming in here to be second fiddle to Kane. It's just not happening. But let's move on to a couple of those players that, you know, there could be a chance. But as always, with Tottenham, it is very hard to bring in a striker when Harry Kane is in the team, because Harry Kane is just world class, and there's no way you're benching Kane. So let's bring on the first guy, Gabriel Jesus. Hasn't really made it at Man City. You know, I guess when Aguero left, he was in there to sort of try their best to see if he can fill in the shoes, and it doesn't look like he has. And now with Haaland here, that's it for Jesus, at least in my opinion. What do you guys think?
James, I'll let you take the start on this one, because I can see you eating that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Andre, Haaland coming in, Gabriel Jesus is definitely not going to be starting for Manchester City, so he's going to be second string to another striker. Like you said, he was second string to Aguero for many seasons. And like you said, it hasn't really worked for him. I know he's been linked with Arsenal. Arsenal obviously are definitely looking for a striker. I could actually see him going to Arsenal over Spurs. And that's not because Arsenal was a more luxurious kind of choice, because it definitely isn't. You know, I just think it's more his level. Maybe not quite a Champions League player. Maybe quite harsh from me. I don't know. But let's be honest, you know, Lacazette is obviously leaving Arsenal. That's been confirmed yesterday. Aubameyang's already gone. So Arsenal don't have much depth up front. They're looking at Eddie Nketiah. I mean, that says it all. I don't need to say anything else on Arsenal's striker choices. I just think Gabriel Jesus is going to go to Arsenal. That's my instinct. But if I'm sticking on a Tottenham point of view, would he be happy to sit on the bench at Spurs over Man City? I'm not so sure. I think that's probably a backwards move for him personally. He's probably going to want to be winning lots of trophies. I'm not saying that can't happen at Spurs in the near future, but I'm also saying Man City is like a guaranteed trophy every single season. And I just believe that I can't see him coming to Spurs. I think if he's going anywhere, he'll want to be guaranteed first team football every single week. And I can see that happening at Arsenal.
Yeah, I see that. What do you think, Jack?
I agree with James. I do think that he's probably destined to go to Arsenal. He would take probably the number 9 shirt. He'd be the vocal point for Arsenal. He's a quick, versatile forward. I honestly think he'd be a good signing for Spurs. But do I think that he'd be happy to be a versatility player? I do think the only reason why he could potentially come to Spurs is because he does have the quality to be a starting player for Spurs, and I don't doubt that. When he first come to Man City, I think his debut was against Spurs, and I think we drew 2-2. But he scored, this is my knowledge here, he scored, I'm pretty sure, a last-minute winner that was just called offside, and I thought this guy is a tricky player. Making late runs into the box, quick, pops it off fast, obviously was in Brazil. Still, don't forget, still gets into the Brazilian squad, I'm pretty sure. So, with some great players around him. So, he's a player that many people rate highly. For me, I think he would do a job, mainly due to his versatility, as I've said lots of times, but also his goal threat. I think he's had a hard time. He's had Aguero behind him, who he's learnt off. And he's been out of favour really with Sterling. But let's not forget, he scored in the Premier League this season. I think he scored 4 goals or 5 goals in one game. And he's also come up with big moments for Man City. And I do think Guardiola trusts him. So I think he's a player that if we did bring in, I think he'd be a good option. And I wouldn't like to see him go to Arsenal, as I think he would do quite well there. But because he'd be the main focal point, because he'd be the number 9, I can see why he would go there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he would want to sit. If you had to choose between sitting on the bench at Man City and sitting on the bench at Tottenham, I'm pretty sure he would choose sitting on the bench at Man City. The fact that Man City have been having a striker crisis, even though he's a striker, says all you really need to know about how Man City deals with Gabriel Jesus, which is that he is not the guy for them to take them into the next generation of their team, the next era post Aguero. It's not going to be the Gabriel Jesus era. It's going to be the Haaland era. So exactly that. The way that I see it, I think this might be a little unlikely. I don't think he'll want to come in being second fiddle to Kane, even though he does have moments of brilliance in him.
Do you think he has the quality to be a week in, week out starter player for Spurs? Because for me, he definitely has the potential, definitely has the quality.
Where's he going to fit, Jack?
I think he could play on the right. I think Kulusevski's been fantastic last season, but I don't think we should say he's starting week in, week out. I think if you look at all the best teams, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, look at the variety, look at the squad depth they have. Like Liverpool this season, Luis Diaz, Firmino, Jota, without mentioning Mane and Salah. Tottenham, we have a starting 3 that we will never change. Bergwijn and Lucas are just not good enough to be rotated. They're not getting the goals and assists needed. Kulusevski, Kane and Son, unbelievable. But what happens if one of them gets injured? Look at Chelsea, Pulisic, Mount, Werner, Havertz. They've got loads of squad depth. That's without mentioning loads of players. And then Man City, we don't even need to go on about that. Everyone knows the squad depth, the versatility they have. So I really think a player like Jesus would be more than capable to join Spurs' squad. The more I think about it, the more we have to spend money on a proper versatile forward, because I feel like to keep up with these big guys, it's got to be done.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Listen, let's ask the chat what they think. Let's see if the guys in the chat would take Gabriel Jesus. Whack your comments in the chat, guys. Gabriel Jesus, yes or no, given the option, comment in the chat. Maybe it would be a good move. People think maybe it's a waste of money and another waste on the bench. Let's see, but let's see what you guys think. Born to Lose saying Jesus, not for me. Would Jesus be happy playing Europa League football though? A bit of a come down from City, isn't it? Simply Ace saying good evening everyone. Good evening, Simply Ace. Hope you're doing well. He says Gabriel Jesus will probably play the same amount of game time as Vinicius. That is bugger all, so he won't come play for us. What do you guys think?
No, I think that exactly. Jack, I agree with you 100%. I think that Jesus would be a great player to rotate. But the fact is, when you look at Arsenal and you look at Tottenham and what role he would play, they are two completely different roles. Arsenal would be Jesus would be entering a team that needs a striker, like a week in, week out striker. He would be entering Tottenham to sort of be in the same position he'd be in at Man City, which is a striker that would be brought on from the bench most of the time, unless there's cup games. So I don't think that is going to happen. But the complicated thing, which is kind of, Arsenal bottling top four, is what has 100% halted their development, at least in the speed that they were developing, because they don't have Champions League football to offer certain players. So would Gabriel Jesus want to come and play Europa League for Arsenal, be the main guy and take them to Champions League, or would he rather come to a team that is going to use him pretty often, maybe not as much, maybe pretty often if he really starts making his way in Conte's team and Conte trusts him, but he won't be the main guy.
Yeah, I mean, Henry's come up with a really good point here. Welcome in, Henry. He says, guys, City won't want to deal with us due to the Kane saga last season, and also he knows Arteta well.
That's also true.
Very good point. Very, very good point. Especially Man City after last summer, they definitely won't want to deal with us. I really think that is true. Also, 40 million for a player with just a year left on his contract is a silly price. You could also see it as that. Very fair to say so as well. Guys, let's move on from Gabriel Jesus now, and let's see who else Conte would like to apparently sign this summer.
Perfect. So how about we move on to one of the sort of biggest linked players for most clubs, which is Darwin Nunez. The guy has been killing it over in the Portuguese league. From 41 matches, he has 34 goals and 4 assists across all competitions. Now those are some really, really good stats. Almost a goal contribution every match, almost.
In the league, it is. In the league, it's 28 games played, 26 goals, 4 assists.
Wow.
Well, there you go. And overall, personally, I really rate this guy. He's 22 years old, plays more of a center forward role. And this is the thing here. Conte's wish list is filled with a bunch of players that if you play FIFA, you'd want to buy him in your career mode. But would you actually be able to convince a player to come into sort of a rotating role? The fact that Darwin Nunez would not be a starter most times, that is something to really think about here. Personally, and I think we covered this a few videos ago, I think out of all the players, he would be such a good asset to our team. He would be an amazing player to come in if Conte and Paratici can convince him that if he plays well, all that's going to happen, his role is going to grow more and more. This guy, if he really lives up to it, could be the next sort of era once Kane reaches that age in about 4 or 5 years, unless Kane really goes the Ronaldo way and at 38 he's still performing the same way he is now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, Darwin Nunez, I mean, phenomenal stats, almost like the second most sought after player after Luis Diaz in that league. The stats speak for themselves, like you said, Andre. I mean, 30 goal contributions in 28 games, and 34 goals in 41 games in all competitions. It's absolutely ridiculous stats, but there's always going to be that question mark over, can he do it in the Premier League? He's done it in the Portuguese league. I think Carlos Vinicius was one of the top scorers the season where we signed him. Didn't quite hit the ground running at Spurs. Maybe he didn't quite get the chance. Obviously, you know, absolute baller against Marine, who are like 9 divisions below Spurs, and does the celebration like Jack just gave us there. But can Darwin Nunez do it in the Premier League? I honestly think this guy is special. 22 years of age. You know, all the big clubs think with him: Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham. I think everyone's going to go for him, and I think one club will get him. I'm just not sure about the price tag and whether we're going to spend something like ridiculous amount of money. What did you say the release clause could be? Was it 50 mil or 60 mil?
More than that, I think. 80 million euros.
Exactly. I mean, in pounds, 60, 70 million. Like, are we going to spend that much on a technically backup striker for Kane? I can't see it personally. That's a lot of our budget out the window. But like I said, I think this guy is a special talent. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I agree. I'd start off by saying I think we need to refrain from using backup striker, because if we bring in someone like Darwin Nunez, this guy is not a backup striker. He's someone to push Kane. He's someone to play alongside Kane. He's someone to push the squad and really prove that we're bringing in quality players. So I think your backup strikers may be someone like, if you're bringing in Mitrovic, they're your sorts of backup strikers. But if we're going to spend 60, 70 million, these are players that are part of the squad that really want to succeed, and he's a player who will want 15, 20 goals in the Premier League next season if we bring him in. He's a serious player. My only worry would be the price tag we're spending on him, the competition we'll face, and like you say, if he joins Man United, there's a good... Well, you've got Ronaldo and Cavani. If he joins Arsenal, then yes, he'd be the starting player. But Europa League football, I'm sure he'll want to set his ambitions higher. Liverpool, potentially, he could join there with Mane leaving, going to Bayern Munich by the seams of things. But I really do think he'd be a great addition. You've seen the goals he scored this season. You've seen how he's played in the Champions League. He seems like a player that's desperate to join the Premier League as well. I saw Damasio say that his next step has to be the Premier League. So he seems like he's keen on a move. So I feel like it could be like a similar to a Vlahovic situation, where Vlahovic, we had a chance to bring him in, but we weren't sure about spending the money. We were like, oh, is he going to be this amazing player? And then what did he do? Absolutely smashed the Serie A, got loads of goals, and then everyone wanted him, and he ended up being bought by Juventus for a load of money. So it could be a similar situation here. Maybe we have to bite the bullet, bring him in, and then hope for the best, because there's no doubt he's performed in the Champions League. I'm pretty sure he scored 3 offside goals in playing Liverpool, so he's proper quality, and maybe we don't want to miss out on this opportunity. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. It's but that price kind of scares me, especially for a player who might not be starting. Now, he also has to be realistic too. This player, right? No team is going to spend 80 million on a 22-year-old unless you're Holland or something at that age. You know, when you haven't been playing in the top 5 leagues, and just expect to start, right? Look what happened with, and not again. I'm about to maybe it's a hot take here, but Atletico Madrid's Portuguese signing didn't turn out as world class as they thought, and they spent a lot of money.
Well,
João Felix, yeah. Personally, I think
I actually really like him, but I can totally see he was a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When you're setting, you could possibly be setting a player to fail if you overspend because you expect a certain performance based on their price tag, right? So if we spend around 80 million on Darwin Nunez, which I think that would take us to some sort of new record signing, if correct me if I'm wrong here, no way we're spending record signing numbers and we're just going to sit him on the bench.
Yeah, Bodger was saying my worry with Darwin or others is we try to negotiate the price. Other teams will come and sign them like from our noses, just like Diaz. Yeah, Darwin Nunez would be class. His own army. It would be good to snatch him from United and Liverpool. He will improve the most under a world-class manager and a world-class striker. Born to Lose thinks that if Manny leaves, he'll go to Liverpool. SOF saying Kane and Son are near 30. We need more options to rotate them. This is kind of what Jack's saying. Instead of playing them 50 games and reducing their longevity. Also another good point. Simply Ace is saying we are likely to get a backup striker in his late 20s that is used to being a backup striker. Talented young players like Nunez will not want to be on the bench. Spurs talk show, Sean thinks it will not happen, no chance. And Maxime saying, but next season we're going to play with the same 3-4-3, or Conte wants to do like an Inter with 2 strikers, perhaps in more of a 3-5-2. Maybe that could be an option. But then you think to yourself, well, 3-5-2, where does Sonny come into that? Does he play just behind? Does Kane drop deep and we play Nunez and Son up front? Then where does Kulusevski come in? I just can't see it happening. I really can't see it happening. But let's review the other options that are on the list that potentially could be more of a backup striker to Harry Kane.
All right. So one player that did come up in his wish list that to me kind of made me laugh, because when I picked him, when we were doing that quick firing of the strike of the players we would bring up, and I brought him up.
This guy's better than Richarlison, apparently.
You bantered me hard, and it's Calvert Lewin.
Oh no!
So great minds think alike, I guess. James. So maybe don't judge me next time. But so Calvert Lewin's on this wish list. I think this could be a pretty realistic signing, depending on that price tag. Because again, I'm sure Calvert Lewin wouldn't mind being part of a Champions League team instead of a potentially almost relegated team. I'm sure he wouldn't mind learning under Conte, learning under Kane. And if that previous, not this season, but the last season shows anything, is that he does have, he's a baller. He can score goals.
No, he's not. I'm sorry. We're going to have an argument here, Andre. Lenny, I'm agreeing with Lenny here. Calvert Lewin is pony. I wouldn't want him. I agree. This guy he's done one good season, right? And he scored 17 goals. I'm sorry. No, not for me. He's not Spurs quality. He's not a baller, whatever you just said, Andre. That is absolutely ridiculous behaviour. I'm going to shut you right down now. I do not honestly believe that Calvert Lewin is a baller. I would never put Calvert Lewin and baller in the same sentence.
Well,
Jack,
look,
please help me out here.
This season, he didn't perform that well because he had an injury, and he missed 14
But why would you
matches.
want a player that gets injured? He's clearly a little bit injury prone. He's still quite young. Why would you want this player?
Right.
He's Arsenal standard. Simply Ace is right. He is Arsenal standard. I mean, the chat's going nuts just from this debate. I mean, Dane Scarlett's better. Don't think Lewin has the quality. Calvert Lewin is not good enough. No thanks. He can go to Arsenal. He don't offer anything. I'm better up top, says Freddie. Freddie, come on, Freddie. First comment, he's better up top. I agree with your first comment, Freddie. Absolutely love it. DCL not for me. See, what have you caused there, Andre? You've got everyone commenting, which is great, but also you need to get your eyes checked.
Calvert Lewin is, if this signing was 2 seasons ago, I think we'd all say, yeah, it's not a bad option. But now, being in the top 4, having Paratici, having Conte, we've got to set our sights higher. He really isn't that good. He's quite clunky on the ball. He's not quick. Yes, you could argue he's quite good with his head, and he's not a terrible finisher. But my word, if I was spending, don't forget, he's going to command quite a high price tag as well. You're talking 40 to 50 million pounds because he's English. So why should we spend this money when we probably can get Bastoni for 60 million? We're paying just under 20 million. But no, let's not bring him in. There's better players. I want to see someone with versatility.
Shocking.
That's good enough to play for my club, and Calvert Lewin just isn't it. Maybe
he's a wet flannel up top.
He could have a storming season, but no, he's not the one. Let's move on.
Andre, I have just read out about 15 comments, and not one person is agreeing with you here, pal. I don't know if you've got posters of him on your wall or whatever's going on there, mate. But we need to get that checked out. That is a horrendous opinion. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, honestly, he's not even England's 5th, 6th choice striker. He is absolutely pony. I agree with all these comments. Andre, I think you like this player too, and I've mentioned him before. Charles de Collet, I always butcher his name. He's young and he's the Bruges guy, isn't he? Would be an understudy to Kane. Don't want Lewin or Nunez, not good enough. Wow, 30 Hotspurs straight in there, bang. Nunez isn't good enough.
Wow. I don't know. 34 goals means nothing to you, eh? Okay.
I mean, mate, I get what you're saying, but how many games? I don't know.
No, I get it. Look, I was just trying to be positive here. I think that I wouldn't be upset if we got Lewin. But it would be one of those scenarios where, yeah, you are right. I do think that to an extent, Calvert-Lewin will not be the guy to take us into a new era.
I'd get Carlos Vinicius back before Calvert-Lewin.
Carlos Vinicius, who's happy to score against Marine. I don't know.
I don't think Calvert-Lewin's got much, bigger hopes.
Okay. Well, You know what? Fair enough. Let's.
I don't think he's that bad. Like,
He's not that bad.
Spurs, but he's not that bad. Let's not forget. I'm pretty sure he made the Euro squad. People were saying he should start over Kane last summer. So he's not a terrible player, but he's not one we want to bring in.
Who are those guys? Who's saying that he should start over Kane? Who's saying that?
In the Euros, in the early games of the season, in the first couple of games, people were saying Kane was dreadful. Do you not remember? And that Calvert Lewin should be given a chance as he fits more to the system, as Kane was still dropping deep. Do you not remember this? People were calling out for it. Obviously, not us Spurs fans. We know the quality Kane has. And then eventually they realised that.
Then he says, reload Vinicius. Just a giraffe up top on the pitch. Bring back Bale. Belotti is clear. Pure waffle from Jacko, says Freddie.
I know him. Freddie Thompson, leave it out. Block him.
Just a giraffe on top of the pitch. Midfielder, which you want. Maybe we'll get into that in just a little bit, Freddie, or maybe even another video. Carlos Vinicius would have got us past Vitesse and then it's Moura. I think it's time to move on from Calvert Lewin. Andre, you can still keep being an absolute hype merchant of Calvert Lewin, but not today, mate.
All right, let's move on to the next guy. Let's move on. We're gonna move on to another guy, Alexander Isaak.
See, now you can say Isaak baller, not Calvert Lewin baller. Sorry, I might clip this and put this on Instagram. This is unbelievable opinions, Andre.
All right, well, from 41 matches, Isaak has gotten 10 goals and 3 assists. So, well,
not great stats.
Not great stats. His pass completion is good.
The thing about him is sometimes we're too keen to judge a player off statistics. Whenever I've watched this guy for Sweden, the season before last, he's been fantastic. He's quick, he's good on the ball, he's versatile, and that's what we kind of need at Spurs. But he'd also command a really high price tag, and he's probably quite a risk. I think he's only got 6 league goals this season, 17 the season before, but 6 this season. Should he command that much of a high price tag for a player that's delivering those sort of numbers? I'll let you decide.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And we have to be very careful over what forward we bring, because the many factors that come into this, the fact that we have one of the best strikers in the world, which really good player that knows they're good wants to come and be on the bench to that. And if we pick another player that doesn't do the job in that way and maybe has hit its peak and won't be able to take us into a new era when the time comes, how much of a price tag will he spend, right? Like I was saying what I was saying about DCL, but yeah, you're right. His price tag might be too much. Isaak, baller. There you go, James. Baller. But
yep. Who's the last option, Andre, before we ask the chat who they'd want?
All right. Let's see. The final one. Do you want to take a guess here?
As long as it's not.
Is it Victor Oshimen?
Yeah, good job. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Now, am I allowed to say baller for this one?
Oh, my word. Yes, but not for the price tag he commands, the numbers he delivers. No way should we be going in for this guy. Not because of his quality, because I think he was bought from Napoli for 80 million euros, and there's no way Spurs should be spending more than 35 to 40 million on this guy. There's much better options. He's a player that's quick, but I just don't see him being that good, especially for the money they paid for him. I think this is a no-go, complete no-go. I'd rather buy a versatile forward, as I've said many times, like Neto, like Rafinha, maybe a Nunez from Benfica. But no, for me, I'm not going near him. What about you boys?
Well, look, here's the stats. From 32 matches, he's got 18 goals, 6 assists, 5 goal contributions in the Europa League, which is 4 goals, 1 assist. He got 4 braces this season, his biggest being against Leicester. So he can perform against Premier League teams.
18 million euros. This is the type of stuff Haaland was for. That is ridiculous. Surely you have to pay that. We're talking about being smart with our money. There's no way we should be spending this sort of money. They're going to want to recoup that fee, if not make profit on it. So I seriously just see this being an absolute no-go. Not because of the quality of the player, because of the price.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much more to say. I mean, I know he's a good player and he has good goal contributions. Like you said, 24 goal contributions in whatever games. In Serie A, hard league. Probably, like we said, is probably the most similar to the Premier League in terms of transition. But I wouldn't pay 80 million for a backup striker, even if you put him up front with Kane. I still don't think that's worth it. And then where do you fit Son and Kulusevski? We've said this so many times. I think this whole video suggests that with our money, the price you pay for forwards is always more than defenders and midfielders, just because they're the money men. They're the ones that score the goals that get you the money. But at the same time, if you want a backup striker, I know you said you got to lose the backup striker, but that's technically what we're looking at here. A second striker to Kane. You've got to be sensible with your money, and I don't think we should be spending over 50 million for a second striker. I really don't. That gets Oshimen out the window. That gets Isaak out the window. That gets probably Nunez out the window. I think we need to be looking at either players that are happy to come off the bench and we can secure them for a decent price, or a player that is potentially a more experienced player that we can get either on a free or a cheap fee that's running out of contract, that is happy to bang in goals and score 5 to 10 goals for us a season, that will add to the goals. I just don't think this one is going to happen either, guys. But I'm going to do a final question in the chat, guys. Out of all the ones we just discussed, and potentially any other ones that you want to add to it, which forward do you want to sign the most for Spurs as a second striker, a backup to Kane, or even a second striker, with Kane playing alongside, maybe even Son? Let us know in the chat, guys, which one you would go for. Simply Ace is saying Oshimen, hell no for the price. Duvan Zapata of Atalanta would be a great backup. I would say, honestly, he would be a better option. Napoli are incredibly hard bargainers and want to the top dollar for any of their stars. Zapata is the one for me. Suit the Prem perfectly. Says Born to Lose. I think, sadly, most of the best strikers in the world will not come into a team and sit on the bench. And this is half the problem, isn't it, guys? This is a lot of the big problem. Lenny's saying Conte times Lukaku. Well, we nearly mentioned Lukaku, didn't we, guys? But, maybe Lukaku back. Really going to sit on the bench again? I don't think so.
I don't want Lukaku.
He's not sitting on the bench. You don't like him? I'd definitely take him. Quickly putting it out there. I know we spoke about potentially putting this in the agenda, as I think Calcio Mercato reported this earlier. I don't think it's going to happen. No way. But I don't think it'd be a horrible option, because Kane likes to drop deep, spread the ball out wide. And Lukaku, let's not forget, he's a world-class finisher. He really is. Yes, he hasn't had a great year, but you can't deny this boy has talent, and he knows where the goal is. So do I think it could work? Kane dropping deep, spreading the ball out to Son and Kulu, and then having Lukaku up front there to finish goals? I don't think it'd be a terrible option, but I don't think it's going to be a viable one. I don't think it's going to happen. But it's an interesting topic.
Well, I mean, also, you got to think about the fact, was Lukaku amazing at Inter because he was in the Conte system, or was he amazing because it was the Serie A and not the Premier League?
Well, he hasn't really hit the ground running at any Premier League team. He's been awful for Man United. He's been awful for Chelsea. He's good for Everton. He was good for Everton and West Brom.
Terrible in the final couple of years, but I think he was okay for a while. He was still a good finisher, but he just didn't I think, who was he playing under? Mourinho, who didn't really fancy him too much. Oli. I don't know. I don't think he's a bad player. I honestly would have him. If we could get him for £60 million, I think he'd be a great player to link up with Kane. But I think it divides opinion. I think his first touch might not be the best. But if you're using him just solely for being in the box and finishing at the end of crosses, I think he's a world-class finisher.
I also don't want a player that's going to go in the media and say that he doesn't like being at the club or something like that either.
Yeah, that's called holding a grudge, Andre.
Hey, look, I personally think that when he went and did that, the whole mess of stuff happened right after that. No team wants to hear that one of their teammates is just unhappy and is going to go tell the whole world.
It's unacceptable, of course. And Chelsea weren't the same since then. Henry has put 2 or 3 comments in the chat tonight, and they've been straight facts. Pookie from Norwich is a good one. Norwich obviously gone down. Jack's shaking his head. Go on, Jack.
Pookie, not for me, to be honest. I think he's aging. I just don't think he'd be a great backup striker, to be honest. I just don't see it working. I like the fact Henry's getting interactive. I like the comments. I like dividing opinion. But for me, he's not the one we should be bringing in. No way.
Well, Moussa Dembele from Lyon. I think he might have quite a high price tag as well, though.
No, I wouldn't. I think we should be setting our sights higher. I know we're talking about, I want to bring in proper players that are going to push them. I think we've spent too long spending money on players that are just not good enough. They're not competing. I think we should be. I'd rather spend money on another winger that can play anywhere along the front three than just spending £30 million on a second striker that really isn't going to get a look in.
Okay, you saved yourself there, because I was about to say, you want better quality players, but then as soon as the better quality players show up on your screen, you're like, no, they're too expensive. But you saved yourself there by saying wingers and stuff. I think that might be good because Son can do a job. When if Kane gets injured, he can easily take control of that front and then have someone fit into Son's role. I would rather that too, honestly.
Yeah. What about Scamacca? 16 goals in 36 games for Sassuolo in the Serie A this season. Heard the Scum want him would be good. One up on them. Or anyone know anything about this guy?
I know a bit. I'm sure Andre knows. Andre has got all the facts and stats, and I love it. But I feel like he's probably destined to go to Inter Milan. I've heard a lot of reports. I think these top Serie A players like to stay in their own league, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to a higher up team in the table. But I don't think it'd be a terrible option. Italian player, I think. Obviously got loads of goals this season. But then again, would he be happy? I don't think it's going to happen. I haven't seen any links or Spurs saying we even like the player. But I don't think he's a terrible player. What do you think, Ray and James?
Well, you know what? I think that I agree with you on there. I think sometimes certain players know that they're great, but maybe for a certain league. Look at what happened with... wow, I can't believe I forgot the name. He went to Juventus when he had said... from Fiorentina when he said that he was going to be there for the rest of the season. Can you guys remind me of what his name was again? He's just
Chiesa.
Vlahovic, yes. No, Vlahovic.
Okay, yeah. Luka Jovic for backup says, Rude man, always good to see you, my friend. And Luka Jovic potentially, but hasn't really scored many goals for Real Madrid. Belotti's a very good shout, says Simply Ace. He, Born to Lose is going, my choice will be Scamacca, Zapata, or Belotti. Lukaku wouldn't be in my choice. If it's Conte, go get him. Our business dealings with Chelsea are non-existent, though, since the Modric debate. Can't even say that word. And out of all the strikers we have discussed, I would have Zapata as he is the most realistic one. And we, as a backup, he would be cheap for Levy as well. It's great points all round, guys. It's great talking points. This video has been fun to do. If you are watching it or after the live recording, comment in the comments which striker you'd like to see come into Spurs, and you can smash the thumbs up on whichever one you want to see the most, and we'll see who's got the top rated comment. Guys, it's been absolutely brilliant. There's been loads of new faces in the chat. We really do appreciate all the support recently. Please do smash the thumbs up button before you leave today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon for more transfer news. Thanks to Andre, Jack, and all the Spurs relatables in the chat. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Come on, you Spurs! I forgot to say it.